Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to learn forms, labels and buttons. So let's get started. So click on File, New, select Windows VCL application and then save this. Before we save it, let's call it, right click on this, rename. You can call it Forms, Labels, Buttons. Enter. Now we save it. Click on File, Save, click on Save, and then go to your C++ Builder Projects folder, open it, create a new folder, and then give it the name 02-forms-labels-buttons, and then open the folder and click Save. Now this is called a form. The form is a container for all your objects that you're going to use. And then over here, there's a title. You can change the title by clicking on it. And then go down to the Object Inspector. Look for Captions. So under Captions, you can change the name to change the caption to Form, Labels, Buttons. Enter. And now you will see it has changed its title, caption. And now we are going to add a label. So to add a label, you can go to the palette on the bottom right corner, look for label, L-A-B-E-L, and the first one is the one that we want. So you can drag this, put it in here, and you can resize it by dragging the resizing handle. And the caption, you can change it to anything you like. Maybe you can say my label, then resize it again. And you can change the font size by looking for the font property, and under here you can click on this 3 buttons and it will open up the font style as well as size. You can use bold, you can increase the size over here, and now you have a bigger font. Right, next we are going to put a button down here. So to put a button, just go to the palette and then key in button. Another way to look for objects is to scroll and search for it down here. You can browse by clicking on the button to expand, and you can see some of the most commonly used components. So let's say we want button, and we can search here and you can double click here, or we can even search it from here by typing button. So this is a button object that we want, so we can click on it, drag and put it in the form. So now we have a button. And then over here we can give the caption, change the caption by going to the property for the button. But before that, make sure you click on the button object. So if you click on the label object, you will see the property for the label. If you click on the button object, you will see the property for the button. And then over here we can select the caption button 1, and you can say maybe click me, like that. So now we have the button, and we can give it a new name if you want. So let's change the name. The name is the name that is going to be used in the code. So now it's called button 1, and normally we would like to call our buttons with the prefix btn and call it button, and then followed by the unique name of the button, click me in this case. So the reason why we put btn is so that when we are referring to it in code later, the name of the button will give us a clue that it is indeed a button. So same thing with the label. We can rename the label by clicking the label first, and then over here go to the name property and then give the name LBL followed by output, let's say. So now when we look at the prefix LBL, we know that it is a label. So that is done. Now we can start coding. So before that, let us try to run and see what this gives us. But let's set our configuration first. Over here, we can change the configuration to release. Double click on release. And now we can try to run it. Click on this to run. And it is building our project. And now it is running. And you can click on the button. Okay, so now we are going to write code so that when you click on the button, the label will change. So let's close this, stop this first, either here or clicking on this button to stop. And to write code for the button, we should first select the button and then go over here and then look for events. You have properties and you have events. So events is what happens when you click on an object. So in this case, the event that we are interested in is on click. So look for on click here and double click in the space here. So when you double click on the space, it will insert a new code for you called button click me click. So as you can see, it opens up the block of code for you to key in your instructions. So the button click me click is the name of the event. We call this the event handler because it handles the click event. Inside here we can write our code, and then this is called a function, and these are some of the signature. The signature of a function is what the function returns. If you see void here, it means that the function doesn't return anything. The word return means in programming to return a value. So in this case, we put void because this function does not return anything. And inside here is the parameter. The parameter is what you pass to the function when you call it. So in this case, the standard parameter is TObject sender. So don't worry about what this means. We don't need to know all this in order to use code. Same thing with this. We also don't need to know this, so we can safely ignore this. This is the name of the class. In programming, the class is like you can say a template from which you derive all your other objects. So this is a static class because you are calling the static function inside it. So the double dot here means a function. So this means that this function, button click me click, comes from this class. So that is the meaning of the double dot. Double dot means a function. So tform has a function called button click me click. So now we can write some code. So what we want to do is to write code to change the text. Let's try this again, run it again. So when we click on the button, we want to change the text shown on the label. So let's try that now. So let's go back to our code. We can go back to the design view form by clicking on the design here. So the unit.cpp is the source code, and the design is the user interface design. Unit.h is part of the file for the code. So every program has got a pair of code files, which is the name of the code itself, which is unit1.cpp, CPP for C++, and the corresponding header file, which ends with the .h extension. So you always see a pair of this like this. Every file CPP has got a corresponding header file which ends with .h. And then if this is a user interface, it will also have a design button for you to design your user interface. So now again we want to write the code here. Just now we did not save, so that's why we have to do this again. So select the button, go to the properties, and then click event, look for on click, and double click this. Okay, now we can write our code. So we want to refer to the label. So the label name is starting, if you remember your label, you can type it here, lbl output, and then you can put an arrow like this to refer to the property, and the property here that you want is caption. So type CAP and you can see the CAP caption has been found. So notice that when you press the arrow key, there is an IntelliSense. IntelliSense is the part of the feature of modern editor for writing code. It is able to predict what you are looking for and give you a possible list of text that you can use. So in this case we want caption, so we type C, A and P, and we find that it has been listed as the first one. So you can just double click on this to select that, and then now you can put caption equals to, and then you can select a new text for your caption and say, maybe you can say now yeah, it works, and semicolon. So notice this is an assignment operator in programming. It means that whatever is on the right, which in this case is a string, it will be assigned to whatever is on the left. So as you can see, label output is the object, and this object has got a property called caption. So that's why you put this arrow. So this arrow is a member of operator. Member of is spelled like this, member of operator. So caption is a member of this object which we created earlier. So now we can save this. So let's go back to the design view, and then you can see there's a label there, label output. So if you ever forget the name of the object, you can always go back to the design view, and under the structure panel here you can see the name of your object. So you have two objects. Yes. So now you want to go back to the code, you can just click on this CPP here. Another way to go back to the code is to double click on this, and you can go back to the code for the button. So now let's test it out. Let's run it. Click on this and it changes. So just let me explain how this works. When you click on the button, you will trigger the event called click event, and the click event will be handled by your click event handler, which you define here. So when you click, the click event handler gets triggered and it will run the code inside the block. And in programming, the block starts with the left curly bracket and ends with the right curly bracket. So curly bracket is spelled as curly bracket. Some people call it curly braces. It means the same thing. So and then in this case we have one instruction, and that instruction is to change the caption for this object to this new string. And notice that everything ends with a semicolon. In programming, semicolon denotes the end of a statement. So if you have multiple statements, every statement must end with a semicolon. So and any white space is ignored. You could have written your code like this as well, and it will still work. It will still work. Let's try it. So we close this and we run it, and it still works. Okay, so now we close it again and we save it one more time. Click save all. Click save all, and it will prompt you where to save. Click save, and then again make sure you're in the right folder. Click save again, and we are done.